Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Dr. Steve Myers and today I'm going to present to you the School of Health Sciences and the courses that we offer through the School of Health Sciences. Unfortunately, the other speaker, Professor Nulla Byrne, can't make it at the moment. She's having some difficulties getting into the system, but hopefully she'll join us soon. So today I'm going to talk to you about laboratory medicine, nutrition science, exercise and sports science, and the various courses we offer within those disciplines. So laboratory medicine is where I work. So laboratory medicine is a 3.5-year degree and it's based in Launceston, but you can complete the first year of that degree in Hobart as well. So we have the first part of that degree in Hobart and in Launceston. It's also accredited by the Australian Institute of Medical Scientists, and that's really important because AIMS accreditation is like the global kind of government body that looks after all of the science within laboratory medicine. So being accredited by AIMS means that we're always pushing to do the right thing, and they're a body that is an umbrella that makes sure that the science is credible. Also, in laboratory medicine, as a graduate, you're an accredited medical scientist, and that's the really important thing about laboratory medicine, is once you graduate, you are a practicing scientist working in pathology labs worldwide. And there's a whole range of different kind of areas that you can work in laboratory medicine. Some of the areas include cancer research. Some of the other areas are genetics, for example. I work in biochemistry and molecular biology. You might want to work in microbiology, but there's a whole range of different exciting disciplines within laboratory medicine that you can work in. There's also a relocation bursary as well, and that's valued at $3,000 for 1 year of full-time study at the University of Tasmania. So that's for our domestic and international students. The IELTS score to get into laboratory medicine is 6.5, so there's no band less than 6.5. And the fees as they are now at the moment are $34,950 per annum. So we can talk more after this presentation at a Q&A session. This is one of the students that was actually that I taught in laboratory medicine. So I teach into laboratory medicine. I teach into the molecular biology, the biochemistry, and the genetics. And this is one of our students that was an extremely high achieving student, Sathya, and she did an amazing amount of work in the degree, and now she's successfully working in the industry. We also have exercise and sports science, and we have clinical exercise physiology. So the exercise and sports science and exercise physiology is a 3-year degree, again based in Launceston, but it has pathways to postgraduate study in exercise physiology and physiotherapy. And it's the important component of this discipline within this degree is to learn the role of physical activity and how it plays a role in health and well-being of individuals within society, within communities. And as a graduate, you're ready to work as an exercise scientist and sports science in the field. The important thing about the exercise and sports science is it's not based on exercise and sport per se, but it's really based on the fact that you're looking at allied health in a clinical situation, and you're looking at trying to understand how exercise and various components of exercise can help with people that have a certain disease, chronic diseases, for example. There is, again, with this degree, there's a relocation bursary of $3,000 for 1 year of full-time study. The IELTS score for this is 7, no band less than 7, and the fees are $31,950 per annum. Again, this one, similar to laboratory medicine, we talked about it being AIMS accredited. This degree, the exercise and sports science and exercise physiology, are also accredited through ESSA. And this is a student that, and I don't personally teach into the exercise science degree, but I do know most of the students because we have such small class sizes within all of our degrees in the health sciences. We get to see students across a whole range of disciplines. But Matt, he was a student at the University of Tasmania, his first Bachelor of exercise and sports science cohort from 2007 and 2010. And he basically said there was 25 of us and we became really close. Many of I'm still in contact with, including my lecturers, and that is true. A lot of our students, even in laboratory medicine that have moved on into work and employment, we still have contact with, because we have such a small, close group of students and lecturers working together. You become quite friendly with your lecturers and students. We also have nutrition science, and nutrition science is a 3-year degree based in Launceston. It also has pathways to postgraduate study in nutrition and dietetics. A lot of students that go into nutrition science do go into a master's degree or postgraduate study into dietetics. But nutrition science is really about learning the connection of food and health and social responsibility as a nutritionist. And there's a whole range of disciplines associated with nutrition science as well. And these include things as how food is good for your health, for example, the social impact on food, and a whole range of other things associated with food. The relocation bursary, again, is $3,000 for 1 year of full-time study. The IELTS for this is 6.5 with no band less than 6.5, and the fees are $30,950 per annum. So this is a really exciting degree. The good thing about nutrition science as well is that it kind of fits in with a lot of our other degrees in health. So laboratory medicine, exercise science, all have a component of nutrition, because all of those degrees study illness and health in our societies. And this is a student that I taught, because I teach across biochemistry in laboratory medicine. The nutrition science students also study biochemistry, so I get to see the nutrition scientists as nutrition students, I should say, as well. And Margaret, she was a high achieving nutrition student that's going on to do a master's degree in dietetics now. And she basically has said that she loved it here in Tassie. I can escape to nature easily when I need a break from study, and the culture of the landscape campus, it's extremely supportive. Moving to Tasmania to study was one of the best decisions I've made in my life. It's a perfect balance between city and country life. And that really concludes the 3 degrees that we offer through the School of Health Sciences. So I can open up now to questions if there's any. Thank you.
And while we're waiting for questions to come through, Stephen, maybe I might ask you a question. So can you please explain to the audience a little bit about your own background and your experience in Lab Med and how you've got to where you are today? I guess your personal profile.
Yeah, sure. I studied, so many years, 20 years ago now, I studied a degree in Queensland, Australia, and I studied a degree in medical science. And I finished that degree, I went in and did a PhD, and mainly working in cancer research. And then following from the PhD, I worked for the last 10 years in research. So a lot of my work has been research-based, and it has moved from cancer research into metabolism and the role of disease associated with type 2 diabetes. So since then, I joined the University of Tasmania, and in the last 5 years, I've been teaching into laboratory medicine. So my experience in the research field has really helped with my teaching into that degree, because I can give students information about the cutting edge kind of research that's going on in the field of laboratory medicine, as well as give them the theory about the kind of work that I'm doing.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I do have some questions coming through, so let me just have a quick look at these questions and see which ones. Some people were having issues, they couldn't hear, that's all fine. So someone's asking if they have a bachelor in pharmacy, can they apply for a master's of laboratory medicine?
Yes, you can apply for a master's in laboratory medicine, and then you'll probably, what normally happens in laboratory medicine is that anyone that comes in from other degrees are most certainly welcome. And depending on the kind of units that you've done in pharmacy, there might be some credit, but definitely you can come from another degree, a science-related degree, and enroll in a master's degree in laboratory medicine, yes.
Fantastic. I also had a question as well, and someone else had the same question. Can you explain the difference, please, between a Master's of Laboratory Medicine versus a Master's of Pharmaceutical Science? And what's the main difference between them? Because sometimes students don't know which pathway to go in, I guess.
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question. The Masters of Laboratory Medicine really get you prepared to go out into the workforce and work in diagnostics and in pathology. So the same with the laboratory medicine at a bachelor's degree. The bachelor's degree and the master's degree in laboratory medicine both prepare you to go out into a field where you will be working in diagnostics. So you'll be diagnosing diseases at the front line, whether it's in cancer, whether it's in blood diseases, infectious disease, a whole range of other things. The Masters of Pharmacy is again set up in a way that you can go into research in pharmacy, or you can actually work in a pharmaceutical company, for example, or you might want to work in a chemist and dispensing, pharmaceuticals to people. But the main difference between the two is that laboratory medicine is really set up to get you into a job working in that diagnostic field and that pathology field, whereas the Masters of Pharmacy is more geared towards getting you involved into research or perhaps working in the pharmaceutical fields.
Fantastic, thank you. That was really clear, even to me, so I can now better explain to students what the difference is. I do have one question from Kevin. He's asked, what kind of jobs can students do after they graduate from laboratory science?
Yeah, hi Kevin, thanks for the question. There are a lot of jobs. So many of the students go into hospitals, and the thing with going into hospitals, there are a number of different disciplines within the hospitals as well. And we take our students in laboratory medicine and in the master's level degree as well. We take them through the hospitals where they get to look at the various departments within the hospitals. I should also mention that something I didn't mention with laboratory medicine is because it's a 3.5-year degree, the last half year you get put into placement. And placement is you get placed in a hospital setting where you actually get 6 months or a whole semester. You're working with experienced people within a specific field that you're interested in. So you actually get the real hands-on approach. But the jobs that students can do range from pathology, so looking at diseases of tissue, for example. You might have be looking at cancer tissue and diagnosing cancer. You could be working in biochemistry and looking at metabolites, for example. You could be looking at genetics. A lot of our students are interested in genetics and they go in and look at genetic disease. A lot of other students are interested in infectious disease, so they get involved in microbiology. So there's the work that can be done in the hospitals across all of those different disciplines, and there's more. There's cardiovascular disease as well. But there's also students that go into private industry as well. So they go into private industry working in similar disciplines. Other industries that students can go into can be more management roles as well. So they can go into more government roles as a health specialist, for example. So there's a lot of opportunities, Kevin, for graduates in laboratory medicine.
Fantastic. And yeah, some people had the same question. So I hope that's answered some of your questions there. Before I introduce Nola in, I just wanted to let the audience know that these courses are all available for semester 2 intake online. So definitely, if there's any interested students or agents who had the question, yes, it is available for semester 2 intake. I had a question here about scholarships. Stephen, would you want to answer about scholarships? If
Yeah,
there's
I think
any
so.
particular scholarships apart from the TIS?
There's I'm not aware that there are any. There's scholarships certainly for postgraduate students enrolling in PhDs, but there's not scholarships that I'm aware of for bachelor's degree. But perhaps Nuala might be able to answer that question.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's a good time to introduce Nola. If you do have your webcam working, you're more than welcome to turn it on. So apologies, everyone. She had some technical issues as part of this digital world we're in. So that's become a very common issue. But Nola, I'll hand it over to you if you'd like to make any comments or talk about any of the slides that you were supposed to talk about. So feel free.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, man. I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Nuala,
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, great. Look, sorry, my machine decided to close down just a couple of minutes before the session started, so I can't actually get much happening, so I won't try to touch too many other things right at the moment. So thanks, Steve, for covering the courses, I guess. And so I didn't. I have just kind of slotted in now. The kinds of things I can talk to, certainly with regard to scholarships, we do offer relocation bursaries for our students in each of our courses, actually, of laboratory medicine, exercise science, and nutrition sciences. These are front-ended to support students to relocate to Tasmania if they're undertaking full-time study, and that is a $3,000 bursary, which supports that travel and initial setup for students. I guess maybe some of the things I might actually be covering some of the same things that Steve has, but a couple of things I would talk to with regard to our health science courses, particularly those in, well, all of them really, but if I focus on exercise and sports science and nutrition sciences, these are degrees which often at the bachelor's level provide a good opportunity for students who might see a clinical pathway for themselves into courses such as a variety of allied health, what we refer to as allied health. And clinical exercise physiology is one of the allied health courses that we already offer at the university. We are considering and going through a body of work at the moment to look at the opportunity for us to offer physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech pathology, and also nutrition and dietetics. We'll make sure that you're kept into the loop when we do make that decision whether to proceed with these courses or not, but they're looking very promising at the moment. Most likely we would be offering these courses at the master's level, so that would give students the opportunity to come to Tasmania if they have a suitable health science based degree. Our own degrees will articulate into these master's degrees. So if a student was interested to undertake a nutrition science degree, for example, or exercise and sports science, they would prepare them for a number of these postgraduate offerings in physio, OT, speech pathology, or nutrition and dietetics. If we proceed, we will be looking at opening those courses for entry in 2022. What that would mean is that a student coming into an undergraduate degree next year, or even this year, would finish their degree ready to commence a postgraduate allied health course. So it's just something to keep on your radar, because we are very excited to consider offering an expansion to our allied health offerings, which expands upon a number of other professions such as laboratory medicine, pharmacy, psychology, which are already offered through the University of Tasmania.
Thank you so much, Nola. That was really good. I do have a question here from a student, or well, I should say student or agent, Bhavya. They've asked, what are the majors available in health sciences?
So in health sciences, we currently offer a Bachelor of Nutrition Science, and we're looking to expand our majors in nutrition science to have a pathway into public health. So this is called we'd be referring to it as a public health nutrition public health pathway. So what that would mean is a student would do the core components of the nutrition science, health science degree, and then they would be able to pick up this major in public health. Now, what that provides students the opportunity to do into the future would then be, if they were interested in public health, to continue into a Masters of Public Health. The other majors that we're looking at, one in particular we're very excited about considering, and that's in functional foods, or in sort of the food technology area. Now we're looking at this being built with our colleagues in pharmacy, and also interested in linking with our colleagues in the Tasmanian Institute of Agriculture, shorthand TIA. So this is a really exciting prospect that we're considering, because particularly in Tasmania, we are very enthusiastic about the opportunity to understand food production and then understand how to maximise the way in which food is processed to really unpack the health benefits of nutrition. So the three pathways that we're looking for there, or three majors that we're looking for in nutrition sciences, are a pathway into the clinical degree of dietetics. Students currently already leave the state after finishing our nutrition science degree to take up Masters of Dietetics courses on the mainland, but we may be in the position to offer that ourselves into the future. We have the second pathway, which was the public health nutrition pathway, and the third major that we're looking at is this sort of food technology functional foods major. We also have currently a collaboration with Charles Sturt University, in which students undertake the first 2 years of a health science degree in Tasmania, and then they transfer to undertake their medical radiation science. So it's a major in medical radiation science. And that's a course that we already offer as a collaboration between the University of Tasmania and Charles Sturt University.
Thank you so much for that. That was really informative. I'm just going through some of these questions here, and I've just lost it. So just give me 1 sec. So if the audience have any more questions, please feel free to shoot them through. I think, Stephen, one was for you, actually. There's someone asking the question, does the Bachelor of Laboratory Medicine cover across the human and animal laboratory knowledge? So can they work in an animal hospital?
Yeah, thanks, Maura, for the question. So the Bachelor of Laboratory Medicine is really focused on human biology and human disease. So although, you know, anatomy and physiology and biochemistry, genetics, molecular biology, and a whole range of those units do cover across a whole range of different organisms, laboratory medicine is really focused on human disease and not animal disease.
Thank you for clarifying. I actually had a question myself. So Nulla, maybe you might be able to answer this one. So what are some of the pathways that students can go into after completing, let's say, an exercise and sports science degree? Because it's not a quite common degree. Stephen did briefly touch upon it a little bit when you were having issues, but If a student completes, let's say, an exercise and sports science bachelor degree, what are some of the areas, let's say in a master's or PG level, that they can continue going into to get to different areas in their career, for example?
Sure. Look, exercise and sports science is an interesting career or base degree that does lead to a whole range of careers. I'm slightly biased because it is my core base undergraduate degree. It's in Australia, we have an association which regulates our exercise and sports science careers called, it's referred to as ESSA, Exercise and Sports Science Australia. And a base degree in exercise and sports science is really a 3-year degree. And from that, you can become accredited as an exercise scientist. The career paths that this opens up to graduates is being able to work with healthy individuals or individuals for whom there isn't a chronic illness. And so that would fit more within the activating the population. We work at a population level, at a community level, but also work with individuals who have athletic aspirations or who are interested in just getting fitter. And being able to live a very healthy lifestyle. For individuals who want to progress in their sporting career, then and to work with athletes, then there's an accreditation for a sports scientist. And so this is a step beyond the exercise science pathway. So there's kind of that sports science avenue, and there's also the opportunity to work within business really and to understand how technology can be used to enhance physical performance. So a number of graduates, and certainly people that I went through many moons ago in my undergraduate degree, went on also into sort of pharmaceuticals and became pharmaceutical reps. And so that exercise and sports science does lead people to a whole range of different career paths. In Australia, we have a very large mining industry. And so there's a lot of work for exercise scientists in preparing people for the workplace and for workplaces which have a very high physical demand, like in mining. Students also, when they graduate, can work in working with companies in terms of occupational health. When we're taking to a master's level or a honours level, there is an expansion of exercise science into exercise physiology or clinical exercise physiology. And in Australia, we, through our Medicare system, we have the opportunity for exercise physiologists to provide healthcare in the same way as other allied health practitioners do. So exercise physiology is a recognised career path in Australia and is akin to kind of the nexus between physiotherapy and physical training therapists, which is a category of that you might be more familiar with from the US. The other pathways that students often go into is physiotherapy itself or occupational therapy. And so exercise and sports science is this really great starting point from which a student can then go on to decide whether they want to work with the elite athlete in the sporting context, the apparently healthy and the general population who want to improve their function, working with health promotion and communities, or going on into work with clinical populations, be that through the exercise physiology accreditation pathway or through other allied health careers such as physio, OT, or other therapies.
That's really fantastic, Nulla. And I also had a question here in terms of nutrition science, same sort of area that we're just speaking about, job opportunities available in the government sector. So there was a few questions on that. So once students complete nutrition science, what are the opportunities, I guess, in the government sector?
Yeah, it's a fascinating area, nutrition science, because again, it also does open up such a diversity of career pathways. We are, I guess, a bit at the mercy of what the funding is available with different governments at different points in time. Nutrition in policy positions are become very important in many countries. You know, where where chronic disease is an issue, the start of that chronic disease is lifestyle in many cases, and so there is a pathway for those individuals with a nutrition science degree to move into a public health domain, and through that they can specialise and have more of a policy framework competency. And this sort of population health work pathway for graduates means that they can move on to all manner of organisations, and from World Health organisations through to working with local governments and improving the food supply, understanding how to promote healthy eating in an education context in schools, and also trying to impact upon the way in which food is and food products are advertised. So there is a whole range of pathways for nutrition scientists who might not be necessarily interested in the clinical work, but who might be more interested in working with populations or with information resource and policy.
That's great. And I also had someone else asking, do students need to have some sort of special educational background as a requirement for applying for health sciences program?
So health sciences, we really do want to encourage students to think about it. It is an applied science, and so we are commonly basing a lot of the health science degrees on a maths. There's a mathematical underpinning to a lot of the work that the studies that are undertaken. So we do require that students have a science, be that a biology, could be a chemistry or a physics, but commonly a biology or something of that nature, and also a mathematics unit as well. And again, it's difficult to give a precise unit because different areas vary so much in how they package up their nutrition, their maths education. But it's really a biology or a human physiology kind of exposure, and a maths exposure as well.
That's fantastic. Stephen, I've got one for you. It's a very general question, but I think a lot of people might have the same question. What are some of the entry requirements to get into, I guess, a Bachelor of Laboratory Medicine or a Master's of Laboratory Medicine? And I think in particular more so for Masters of Laboratory Medicine.
Yeah, thanks, Maura. Similar to what Nulla has said, I'll start with the Bachelor of Laboratory Medicine. The Bachelor's of Laboratory Medicine, we covered that in one of the first slides, but the IELTS is 6.5 to get into that degree. But also some mathematical background and biology background is definitely helpful. Although, as Nulla said, that does change depending on the kind of maths that's required. We also take students that have a chemistry background as well. So generally, it's a mathematics or a biological science background. For a master's degree, we require that the student have a relevant degree in a science or health related field. So that a student has some background in mathematics, some of the biological sciences, chemistry, for example. So that would probably be all that's required for the master's degree.
That's fantastic. I had a question here about scholarships.
Yeah,
So one of the main scholarships, I can answer that one, I guess. One of the main scholarships we have for all international students is our Tasmanian International Scholarship, which is a 25% tuition fee discount per year for the duration of your course. So that's all merit-based as well. And usually it's processed through our admissions team, and that gets assessed. And we look at any prior qualifications. For example, if a student wants to do a Master of Lab Med, we'll look at their previous study, whatever that was prior to that, as long as the student has studied for a minimum of 12 months full-time study. So that's our Tasmanian International Scholarship, which is available for majority of our courses, including the courses we've just talked about today. Some students or people were asking me about nursing. Nursing is actually our next webinar next Tuesday. So please dial in, register for it. It'll be a really interesting session. And any nursing questions you can definitely ask next week. So at the moment, I think that's pretty much all for questions. I can't see anything else coming in unless Stephen or Nola, do you have anything else that you wanted to add? We can reiterate the point about semester 2 intake as well. Nola, if you wanted to talk about the semester 2 intake and whether it's online at
Sure.
the moment.
Yeah, look, we do have the capability to support students wherever they are in the world in our courses, at commencing our courses, because we do recognise this is such a challenging time for everyone. While all of our courses are very practically based, we are able to push some of that practical learning where the hands-on skill acquisition needs to occur. We have been able to rearrange some of our learning so that occurs later in the degree. And in this way, we can support all students to commence their degree for semester 2, but also for first semester of next year. If the border and if the challenges are still in place, we will be able to support students in that first semester of their degree. It is another thing to really note about all of our courses is that we do have relatively small classes, and while that is something that we're really pleased to be able to have, it's something which gives students really the opportunity to get to know their lecturers much better than will occur in very large cohorts. We've had the opportunity to really get to know the students and be able to support their learning in a way which is much more difficult to do when you have very large cohorts. I previously worked in one of the mainland universities, and it was a fantastic university, but it did become more and more challenging as the student numbers increased. Steve had the same experience as I from Queensland universities, and their programs are great, but it is difficult to give students the same attention as we're able to give to our students at University of Tasmania. So it is an advantage to be a little bit smaller, and it's something that we enjoy because we do get to know students better, and we do get to have that opportunity to support their learning in a way which that practical skill and hands-on experience is very much optimised.
Yep, that's really good. And I had a couple more questions that came through my mind while you were speaking. One of them is, are there any internship opportunities available for areas of exercise science and nutrition? Because generally students are always keen to try and, as you guys would know, partake in internship opportunities. So yeah, is there anything available?
Absolutely. It's actually it's a key criteria and requirement of our courses that students are involved in practical experience. It is a requirement that we accrue a certain number of hours of the students being in placement, and so like you referred to an internship, it gives students the opportunity to work in place, and Steve mentioned this with laboratory medicine, but the same goes for exercise and sports science as well as nutrition sciences. We have a program of activity that students do, and it's something that we want to encourage students to be involved in work integrated learning right from the first semester that they start studying with us, because it's through those experiences of being in place that students get to see the career paths that excite them, and they get to test their knowledge in a very supportive environment. We're very fortunate at UTAS to have an exercise physiology clinic. So we run a clinic where our students on campus get to work with members of the public who have a chronic disease, or able to work with members of the public who want to improve their health and well-being, even if they don't have a chronic condition. But it's through this hands-on experience that students are able, in a really iterative way, to get to know the career path that they're moving themselves into and get to test their knowledge in a real-world experience. And so it's something that is sort of a real fundamental component of the courses that we offer.
That's fantastic. And of course, I'm sure as a previous international student myself, I'm sure a lot of international students would love to have that hands-on experience when they are doing their degree. So that internship opportunity is fantastic for them to be part of. The other question I had was, are there any sort of industry links that we have as a university, either nationally or internationally?
Yeah, each of our courses do look at the opportunity to link students in with, because we get a lot of opportunities through research where we have partnerships, or we have the relationships that are built across different parts of the world. It's something that we're looking to expand upon, and we don't have a sort of routine list of partners that we send students to work with, but it is something that we're very much looking forward to expanding upon. So it's more an individual relationship that academics have built up often through their research partnerships with international colleagues. But there is that opportunity always for students to consider doing some of their, it may not be part of their curriculum coursework, but to do some overseas outward bound experiences.
That's really great. I did ask Stephen a little bit about his background, I guess personal profile. So the last question I'll ask for today is, Nullah, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your background and I guess your history as well?
Sure. As I mentioned, my core degree was a Bachelor of Human Movement Studies, so a Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science. I was very keen to work initially, I thought, with athletes, and I did work for a period of time with athletic groups while I was doing my studies. But I came to realise that what I was actually really interested in was helping people for whom they hadn't quite found the love of exercise, or who had lost their love of exercise and had found themselves in various chronic disease issues, or had various conditions that meant that they weren't as well as they might otherwise be. And so I, like Steve, continued down a research pathway doing my master's and PhD, and I had the opportunity to do a postdoctoral fellowship in the United States, which was a wonderful experience, but also keen to come back to Australia and work as a clinical exercise physiologist, which I've continued to do through my career. My area of particular interest has been the nexus between nutritional physiology and exercise physiology. So I do probably focus a lot of my work on energy metabolism, understanding the human body and how we maintain a healthy body composition. I work with within the sort of space of obesity management, and in also chronic conditions such as type 2 diabetes or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And so, like Steve, who works a bit more in the molecular area, our areas overlap very well, because we need to understand the body from its cellular and from the mechanistic level, but then we need to apply that knowledge to the whole human, and in the clinical context be able to work with individuals to help them make lifestyle changes. So that's one of the really fantastic things about the School of Health Sciences, is that we do cover the breadth from understanding how the body works at a cellular level, and then taking it right through to the individual and working with people to make healthy lifestyle changes.
That's fantastic, Nulla. And I think a lot of people might hopefully be taking the opportunity these days to make healthier lifestyle choices like I have the past 2 months. So thank you guys so much for joining, Nulla. Thank you so much for fixing whatever technical issue it was that you had. I'm glad you joined us at the end. Stephen, thank you so much for covering for Nulla, and also for your presentation as well. I'd like to thank the audience for joining. We will follow up with all of your questions after the session ends, and looking forward to seeing you guys again. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Moira.
No worries. Thanks, guys. Have a great night or morning.
Will do.
Bye.